Let's head over to KwaZulu-Natal now, where chaotic scenes have played out in parts of the province in the past few days. Supporters of former President Jacob Zuma have taken their anger on his arrest to the streets. Several trucks have been torched and major routes affected, and those protesters have vowed to continue today. eNCA senior reporter Siphamandla Goge is tracking the story for us from Pietermaritzburg, and another of our senior reporters, Dasen Thathiah, is in the north coast. He's in Ngwelezane, outside Mpangeni. A very good morning to both of you, gentlemen. Now, let's start with you, Dasen. Of course, you are in the north coast, monitoring the situation for us there outside Mpangeni. Is it as bad as we've seen in the last couple of days?
Well, Morena, you know, these protests have been sporadic. Here where I'm standing in Ngwelezane, what you're going to see now is the aftermath of the protest that took place here last night. And this was where protesters had come out and blocked this intersection here, but all of this was quelled quite quickly. Later on in the evening, police were on standby in this area just to see that nothing flared up again. We were here until about midnight. And at that point, there was still a group that was gathered across the road from where I'm standing now. But fortunately, they were a lot calmer by that point. But I want to tell you something about this area that we're in, the broader North Coast area. So it seems like those that are protesting are targeting the N2, which is a very strategic route, as you know, because it goes past Richards Bay and the port area. It goes all the way to the border as well. So it's one that is very important in the economic sector, and especially with the trucking sector as well, because that's where goods are transported back and forth. Something else that has come through now as well, Morena, is some of our contacts around this area are sending us videos that were taken during the course of the night where small fires had been popping up on farms that are around here. You'll also know that the North Coast is where you will find many of these plantations and farms, and it seems that that is now also becoming one of the areas that is affected by these ongoing riots.
Dasen, you mentioned that area that you're at, of course, is quite good where the economic part of it is concerned. Is it a case of let's hit them where it hurts so they hear our calls and make sure that they release the president, or is it just purely an element of criminality?
Well, I think at this point it's difficult to establish which of those it is, but everything seems to point to some kind of strategy that is playing out here. And this started as early as a week ago or 2 weeks ago, even before the former president was arrested. And how we know that is because his supporters that had gathered in the Durban CBD at that time had then taken a decision to block the port there. And ever since then, it seems to be something that's quite well orchestrated. As to whether that is their ultimate intention, as you said, to hit them where it hurts, so to speak, that's something that I guess those voices on the ground will have to tell us.
Siphamandla, let's come to you. We spoke, of course, at length yesterday morning about how the torching of the trucks at the Mooi River Toll Plaza was majorly just about criminality. Of course, there was looting that took place there, the torching of luxury vehicles that happened as well, just over 25 trucks that were set alight. Of course, we don't want to ignore those who are not being criminals and are not doing this because they're just trying to cause chaos. And in fact, they're just doing it because they genuinely want to see the former president being released from jail. But that, of course, is not necessarily an excuse enough to be causing the damage that they're causing.
Absolutely. It's a combination of both, really. You've got genuine concerns and genuine protesters, those who are calling for the former president to be released. They have embarked on a hashtag Free Jacob Zuma campaign under this hashtag Shut Down KZN. And you've got pure criminals who have decided to use this opportunity to destroy private property, to loot, to cause anarchy and chaos. You know, it took almost 24 hours for the strategic entry route near Mooi River Toll Plaza to be reopened after it was closed as a result of more than 25 trucks that were set alight. Now, that tells you that for 24 hours, the economic activity of the country, not only of KwaZulu-Natal, was basically suspended due to that criminality and chaos that ensued. Because if you close the N3, trucks cannot move. Those trucks were going to and they're coming from Durban, which has got one of the biggest ports, not only in South Africa, but in the continent. You know, the goods that those trucks were transporting were going to inland provinces and even beyond the borders of South Africa. So if you close the N3, that amounts to economic sabotage because nothing moves there. So we saw that happening yesterday. It has since been reopened. I'm talking about the freeway now. We were there yesterday night when we saw trucks being diverted there. And I can tell you that on our way back to Pietermaritzburg from Howick or from Mooi River where we were, we went past the R103 there when we saw trucks being tossed there, and I can tell you that in Twede between Howick and Mooi River there was looting of trucks there by protesters because when trucks were diverted they got stuck and people used that opportunity to loot. So it's pure criminality. Yes, there are those who are concerned and who have embarked on their campaign to free the former president, but that can be done peacefully, not what we are seeing throughout KwaZulu-Natal. Unfortunately, this text has blocked you, but Bongam they will try and pen and show you what is happening here. We are in Langalibalele Street here in Pietermaritzburg. Pietermaritzburg is the capital city of KwaZulu-Natal. I'm sure you are seeing law enforcement officers here. They are out in full force because they had received information that Pietermaritzburg was going to be shut down. We expect that to still continue today. So police officers and traffic authorities are not taking chances. They have basically started the roadblock here, trying to search each and every car that comes through to the city center, because another strategy of those who are embarking on this shutdown, we are told, is to shut down Pietermaritzburg, which is the capital city of KwaZulu-Natal. I'm not sure whether it's possible for Bongamkize to show you. On my left is the provincial legislature of KwaZulu-Natal. So this tells you about the strategic importance of Pietermaritzburg. If you shut down the economic hub, which is Durban, that has already happened and is still ongoing, and once you are done shutting down Durban, you come to Pietermaritzburg, you shut down Pietermaritzburg, you would have achieved your objective of shutting down the economic hub and the provincial capital. So we expect that in and around Pietermaritzburg today, there will be those protests. And I can tell you that it's difficult to chase these protests because organizers of such, they are very strategic. You know, they have a phrase that they say there is a night shift, especially during the night. That's when you see most of these protests picking up. During the day, they will be calm, quiet, but at night, you will be chasing fires.
We'll go now to Lethiwe Mdluli again, who is KwaMashu. Lethiwe, thank you very much, of course, for coming back to us. You did say a little earlier on that you guys are going to stay there and just assess whether or not the police are going to stay and monitor the situation where you are close to Bridgetown. Have they left? Are they still there? What's the situation?
Well, Morena, at the moment we have moved location because we were told of another protest that was happening here in KwaMashu. We are on Dumisani Makanya Road here near Avoca Hills. I'm just going to ask my colleague Francois Grobler to show you the streets. It's been closed since last night. I was speaking to a few community members who told me that the protest action actually started taking place last night and they shut down this road. So both sides of the road are affected at the moment. I'm also going to ask my colleague to just move with me. I'm going to try and speak to some of the community members. They are currently waiting for taxis to go to work, but unfortunately the taxis are not making their way around this area because of what you can see on your screen right now. There's rubble, there's burnt tires, and there's also stones and rocks on the road. So a lot of people have been affected. They are unable to get to work because of this. The community members are telling me that they woke up to find that this road was closed. Earlier on, I was near Bridge City. That street was also affected, and we were told that the local ShopRite in that area was also looted. And we understand that the protesters are calling for the release of the former president Jacob Zuma, but some of these protests have gotten violent and now people have started looting shops. But I'm just going to try and speak to some of these gentlemen here. Sanbon Baba. Sanbon. Ninjan. Ngicela ukubuza baba ukuthi nivuke kunje namhlanje la eDumisani Makhanya.
Yebo sivuke kunjena ntombi.
Yeah. Kwenzakalani?
Nathi asazi sifike kuseni nje sokunje.
Ngibabonile kodwa abantu abavayela umganqo noma cha?
Lotha sibabonanga ntombi. Nathi sithi soyigebelana ke siyele emsebenzini sibona ngaqhamuki lutho kunjena nje ntombi.
Ukuvala komganqo kun affecta kanjani umphakathi?
Kuyahlukumeza ngoba kumanje asakwazi emsebenzini imoto ezemsebenzini kayiqhamuki.
Okay, menicabanga labantu abavayela umganqo ilabantu abasupporta uformer president?
Yebo kunjalo nje akujiki.
Bathini?
Bathi bafuna ukuthi Zuma ephume ejele.
Nina nomphakathi nithini?
Sonke akaphume ngoba siyahlukumezeka manje.
Anisakwazi ngifike emsebenzini.
Asikwazi nje silinde imoto engaqhamuki ngokuthi kuva imigwaqo evaliwe nje.
Let me just move Morena to the other gentleman here. Sanibonani. Ninjani? Kwenzakalani la kuDumisani Makhanya?
Sikuyona le nkinga nje yokuvalela imigwaqo kanje akwenzeki lutho kume yonke into.
Kade ungitshela bhuti ukuthi awukwazanga ngisho emsebenzini izolo.
Kunjalo nje ngeke ngathi ngiyabuka la izolo sakhe endleleni ngenxa ukuthi sivalele wona umgwaqo. Namhlanje simile kanje asazi noma sogcina sihambile because iyona le nkinga ukuthi ngivuliwe.
Babonile kodwa abantu abenza lokhu and bathini kunini?
Hayi ngokubuka kwami nje abantu bafuna wona ukuthi Zuma agcine ephumile because bala nokuthi Zuma aphume and basasho ukuthi umfuwe engaphumi Zuma basazoqhubeka benze lento kanje nje ngeke kuze kushintshe until ezaphuma.
Ngiyabonga bhuti. Bobhuti. Bathini abantu la emganqweni la abavala la emgwaqo? Bathini?
Bafuna uZuma ephume nhle. Ngakho befandalize yonke into yabo. Ayikho enye into emele yenziwe kumele ephume uZuma ukuze ngoba kusazomosheka izinto eziningi ngakho kumele ephume.
Siyezwa kuthiwa lezi iteleka lezi nokuvalwa kwemigwaqo kusazoqhubeka. Nizwa kanjalo nani? Nihlukumezekile nje anisakwazi ngisho emsebenzini nilindile la imoto namanje akaqhamuki.
Hayi lutho.
Yebo nginibingelela Siphamandla igama lami kaMagaza lapha eShowe abaningi bangazi lapha emsakazweni inkosi. Sisi ibhlungu kakhulu lento eyenzakalayo ngoba ngalesikhathi babuZuma eyinikela enkantolo ngangitshela ukuthi zonke lezi ibhela zizukuba khona ngoba ngicabanga ukuthi kwakuyindlela yokuqeda ukuthula umsindo leyo. So manje mase ngaphakathi makuukuthi lento iyaqhubeka nokwenzeka ngibona ngathi kufanele bamdedele ziningi izinto ezonakalayo ngoba kwathina emsebenzini asikwazi ukuhamba. Mangabe izinto zikanjena nje yonke indawo kuvaliwe awukwazi ukuya ndawo. Esicela nje abantu abaziphatha imandla ngempela beyingenelele le nto ngokuthula zonke inhlangothi zenele nalabo abasupport babuZuma benele nalabo bomphakathi benele kungabikho lapho ngezokuhamba kahle khona.
Okay, ngiyabonga bhuti. So Morena, those are some of the community members telling us that this road has been closed yesterday and they are affected by this protest because right now they cannot go to work and they are asking for government and also government officials to just get involved and try and solve the situation.
All right, Lethiwe, thank you very much. Now we're going to go back to Dasen. Dasen, what can we expect to happen in that part of the province today?
Well, I think it's pretty much the same for any other part of this province. We need to be ready for anything, and that's what law enforcement officials say they are doing. They have been deployed to this area. We saw that for ourselves last night as we drove along the N2. There was an additional deployment of police. Armored vehicles were stationed on bridges just to ensure that rocks were not thrown and nothing was going wrong. But I want to point something out to you now. If you look at this debris that I showed you earlier, the rocks, the litter, the rubbish, and all of the steel pieces that are lying here, this is a similar situation to what is found on the N2. And we've spoken about the impact on the economy, we've spoken about the disruptions and the inconvenience, but there's also a very real danger for motorists, Morena, and that was seen last night because along the N2 there were several accidents that took place because vehicles had struck rocks and other items that were lying on the road after these protests, and paramedics were quite busy last night responding to those incidents. And it just, once again is an opportunity to reiterate to motorists, this is what law enforcement officials were saying to us last night, that they need to be very careful when they are traveling around these areas, particularly after dark and especially where there is minimal lighting, because you just never know what is lying on the road. We were driving around here yesterday and found that you drive down one street at this point and 10 minutes later you drive back and the road is obstructed, and it's very easy to miss these things. So certainly everyone who's driving on these roads needs to be particularly careful as they do so.